The great council chamber hung in the darkness between galaxies like a jewel made of light and metal. Inside, 12,000 different species watched as Ambassador Marcus Reed stood alone on a circular platform. Below him was nothing but empty space, a symbol of what happened to those the council condemned. Above Marcus, 7 massive beings floated in the air. These were the highborn, the oldest and most powerful races in the galaxy. They had ruled for 10 million years. Their leader, Executor Vol, spoke with a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Human Marcus Reed of Earth, you are accused of murder. The Kaldrith sent 17,000 diplomats to make peace with your colonies. You destroyed their entire fleet. You killed them all in seconds." Behind Marcus, images appeared in the air, showing a fleet of beautiful silver ships approaching Earth's outer colonies. Then there was a flash of brilliant light. Then nothing remained. "Complete destruction. The proof is clear," Executor Vol continued. "We found your weapon signature at the scene. It happened in your space. You had the means and the opportunity. Every member of this council agrees. Humanity will be locked inside your home solar system. Your colony worlds will be given to other species. Your spaceships will be destroyed. And you, Marcus Reed, will be the first human ever executed under galactic law. Your death will teach your species a lesson." Thousands of alien voices filled the chamber with sounds of approval. Many species were happy to see humanity punished. They thought humans were too aggressive, too violent, too dangerous. Marcus did not look afraid. Instead, he smiled. "May I speak?" His voice was quiet and calm. Executor Vol waved one of his crystal arms. "You may say your final words. It will change nothing." Marcus reached slowly into his jacket pocket. Security alarms screamed throughout the chamber, but Marcus moved carefully. He pulled out a small data storage device, the kind humans called a thumb drive. 300 years ago, humanity made first contact with the galaxy. Marcus began. "Do you remember what you told us?" He did not wait for anyone to answer. "You told us we were children, violent children, who needed to learn how civilized species behave. You told us the galaxy has rules older than our entire civilization. You said if we wanted to join the council, we had to prove we could be peaceful." Marcus held up the small data chip. "So we did exactly that. For 3 centuries, we tried peace. We accepted your insults. We gave away our resources. We watched as you took our colony worlds and gave them to species who you said needed them more. We signed every treaty you put before us. We followed every rule, every law, every custom. We became perfect galactic citizens." His smile disappeared. Then the Kaldrith came. They were not diplomats. They were not peacemakers. They were warships carrying 17,000 soldiers wearing fake diplomatic credentials. We detected their weapons. We intercepted their secret communications. We had 48 hours before they would destroy Earth's colony on New Terra. 2 million human civilians lived there. Women, children, families, who had done nothing wrong. The chamber began to grow quiet. Something in Marcus's voice made even the ancient species stop and listen. "We sent you the evidence. All of it. We sent 17 different messages to 17 different council members. We begged you to stop the Kaldrith. We asked you to enforce your own laws about fake diplomatic missions." Executor Vol's crystal body flickered. "We received no such messages. 17 transmissions." Marcus interrupted, his voice now sharp as broken glass. "This data chip contains copies of every single one, along with your automated systems confirming you received them. You got our messages. You read them, and you did nothing." He tossed the chip into the air. It floated there, and suddenly the entire chamber filled with holographic proof, communications, timestamps, evidence that the council had ignored humanity's desperate calls for help. "So we made a choice," Marcus continued. "We could let 2 million humans die to keep your peace. Or we could save them and face your judgment." He spread his arms wide. "We saved them. We destroyed the Kaldrith war fleet 30 seconds before they could fire on New Terra. Yes, we knew what it would cost us. We knew you would call it murder instead of self-defense. We knew you would condemn us." The chamber was completely silent now. "But here is what you do not know," Marcus said softly. "Here is what humanity has been hiding for 300 years while we played your game of peace." His face became hard and cold in a way that made ancient species feel afraid. We have been studying you. All of you. Every species, every ship, every weapon, every weakness. For 3 centuries, we have been writing down everything about you. Because humans learned something long before we reached the stars. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow everyone could hear. Peace is a choice, not a weakness. And the moment you punish us for defending ourselves, the moment you execute me for saving human lives, that choice ends. Behind him, the star map changed. New markers appeared. Thousands of them, all marked with human symbols. Those are our ships, Marcus said calmly. Not the merchant vessels and colony transports you know about. The others. The ones we built in the dark spaces where your patrols never go. Ships with weapons we never showed you. Technology we developed ourselves because we knew that your peace only worked when it was convenient for you. Executor Vol's form blazed with angry light. You dare threaten this council? You dare threaten the entire galaxy? No threats, Marcus replied. Just a message. Right now, Earth is broadcasting this same message to every inhabited world, every species, every planet in the galaxy. He looked directly at the 7 highborn. We tried peace. 300 years of trying to be what you wanted. We bent, we compromised, we sacrificed. But you have made your verdict clear. Humanity does not fit in your peaceful galaxy, so now you will meet the other side of us. The side we have been hiding. The side we hoped you would never force us to show you. Alarms started blaring throughout the massive station. Reports came flooding in from everywhere. Human ships were decloaking across the galaxy. They were not attacking anyone, just appearing, making themselves visible, showing their true numbers. Marcus's smile returned, but it was cold and dangerous. Execute me if you want. But know this, every species watching this trial right now is asking themselves a question. If the Council would not protect humanity when we followed all the rules, will they protect us? And humanity is offering an alternative, a new alliance, one where defending yourself is not a crime, where smaller species are not victims, where justice actually means something. He stood straight, his hands behind his back like a soldier. So yes, Executor Vol, I am guilty of saving human lives. I am guilty of destroying a fleet that was attacking us. I am guilty of putting my species' survival above your politics. His voice filled the chamber one last time. The question now is simple. Are you going to make me a martyr? Because nothing would prove humanity's point better than executing an ambassador for defending his people. Nothing would break your council apart faster than showing the entire galaxy that your justice is just another word for control. The chamber exploded into chaos. Species arguing, shouting, demanding answers. The highborn spoke to each other in frequencies beyond normal hearing. Marcus Reed stood alone in the pit of judgment, waiting for the galaxy to decide humanity's fate. But his eyes showed a terrible certainty. Whatever they decided, the galaxy would never be the same again. The council demanded a break in the trial. Guards escorted Marcus back to a holding cell, but something had changed. As he walked through the corridors, several ambassadors from smaller species managed to catch his eye. They gave him small nods of respect. Some even pressed their hands to their chests in gestures of support. The holographic images of human military ships remained burned into everyone's memory. Nobody could stop talking about them. On Earth, billions of humans watched the trial broadcast. The governments had prepared for 2 possible outcomes. If Marcus was executed, certain encrypted orders would activate. If he was released, different plans would begin. Humanity stood balanced on the edge of a knife. Captain Victoria Hayes commanded a human ship called the Silent Thunder. It was one of the secret vessels Marcus had revealed. Her crew of 1,500 represented humanity's best-kept secret. They were military units trained in absolute secrecy for decades, preparing for the day when peace would fail. Victoria looked at the preliminary orders on her screen. Stand ready. Wait for confirmation. Be prepared to act. In the Council's private chambers, the highborn faced their own crisis. Several species were already asking about humanity's alternative alliance. The Caldrith representative, a younger diplomat named Vren, demanded immediate military strikes against Earth. He shouted that humanity had to be destroyed before they became too powerful, but other council members urged caution. They had seen the number of ships humanity revealed. Nobody knew if that was all of them or just a fraction. Starting a war with humanity might be catastrophic. Executor Vole made a private communication to a mysterious entity known only as the Arbiter. This being had advised the Council for millions of years. The response was strange and unsettling. Humanity brings chaos. Suppress them and you prove them right. Embrace them and you lose control. There is a third option, but it will cost you everything you have built. Hours passed. The Council reconvened. But everything felt different. 17 species had formally requested private meetings with human representatives. They wanted to know more about this alternative alliance Marcus had mentioned. The Kaldrith were furious, screaming that this proved humanity was undermining galactic order. When the Council finally reviewed the evidence on Marcus's data chip, cracks began appearing in their certainty. The proof was undeniable. They had received humanity's distress calls. They had seen the warnings about the Kaldrith fleet. More than that, detailed analysis now showed the Kaldrith ships had been carrying planet-destroying weapons hidden beneath fake diplomatic identification codes. Vren tried to defend his people's actions. Those weapons were just precautions. The humans are paranoid warmongers who see threats everywhere. Marcus, brought back to the judgment platform, actually laughed. The sound was bitter and harsh. Paranoid? You brought enough firepower to kill 2 million civilians and you call us paranoid? The council chambers began to split down the middle. The old powers, the highborn and their loyal followers, still demanded punishment. But younger species, many of whom had suffered under the council's selective justice themselves, started openly questioning the verdict. Ambassador Krell stood up. He represented the insectoid Chithrak swarm. I speak for 300 colony worlds, he said. For 60 cycles, we have endured raids from the Vortan clans. We brought evidence. We begged for protection. The council told us it needed more proof, more time, more patience. His multifaceted eyes focused on the highborn. Meanwhile, 12 million Chithraks died. Where was justice for us? Others rose to speak. The Meridian Collective, the Sylvan Unity, the Forge Worlds, each had similar stories. Every time they sought help from the council, they were told to be patient, to be peaceful, to wait for deliberation that never came. Marcus saw his opportunity. Humanity is not asking anyone to choose violence. We are asking you to choose the right to defend yourselves, the right to exist without begging permission from those who will not protect you. Executor Vole tried to restore order, but the damage was done. The galaxy was fracturing along ancient fault lines. Species that benefited from the Council's order on one side, species that suffered under it on the other. In deep space, Captain Hayes received new intelligence reports. 73 human ships were now visible to galactic sensors, but she knew the truth. That was only a small fraction of humanity's actual fleet. The real number remained classified. She thought about her training, about the words every human officer had memorized. We are not conquerors. We are not crusaders. But we will not be victims. If the galaxy forces us to choose between peace and survival, we choose survival first. We rebuild peace after. Back on Earth, Marcus's daughter Emma worked in the War Planning Center. She was a strategic analyst, one of thousands who had spent their careers studying galactic politics and military capabilities. She watched her father's trial with a mixture of pride and terror. Her supervisor, General Nathan Cross, stood beside her. Your father just split the galaxy in half, he said quietly. The question is whether the pieces will fall in our favor. What if they do not? Emma asked. Cross's expression darkened. Then we implement protocol endurance, and may God help us all. Meanwhile, in the Council's deepest vaults, the Arbiter studied the situation carefully. The Arbiter was not a single being, but a collective consciousness of the galaxy's first spacefaring species, preserved in quantum computers. It had guided the Council for millions of years, always working to maintain stability, but now it calculated new probabilities. Humanity had introduced genuine unpredictability into the system. The Arbiter realized something it had not considered in eons. Stability might not be the same as survival. Sometimes systems needed to break in order to evolve into something better. It sent a new message to Executor Vole. Prepare for transformation. The old order ends today. The Council took a vote, not on Marcus's execution. That was postponed. Instead, they voted on whether to formally investigate the Caldreth's actions. The vote split exactly in half. In 10 million years of council history, this had never happened before. Executor Vole made an announcement. "We will convene the Tribunal of First Principles. All evidence will be reviewed. All parties will testify. Until then, Ambassador Reed remains in custody. Humanity will maintain current positions. No advancement. No withdrawal. The galaxy holds its breath." Guards led Marcus away, but as he passed the gallery where other ambassadors sat, he made eye contact with dozens of species. Some showed fear. Some showed anger. But many, especially the representatives of smaller civilizations, showed something else entirely. They showed hope. On the Silent Thunder, Captain Hayes received the standby order extension. Her crew remained at battle stations, weapons ready but not fired. The galaxy had bought itself time. But everyone knew this was just the calm before the storm. The Tribunal of First Principles had not been convened in 18,000 years. It required not just the highborn, but representatives from the galaxy's oldest civilizations, including several species that normally refuse to involve themselves in council politics. The venue was even more impressive than the council chambers. The Cathedral of Truth was a structure built by ancient beings called the Precursors. Inside this place lying was neurologically impossible for most forms of life. The building itself prevented deception. Marcus was brought before the tribunal alongside Vren of the Caldreth. Both would be subjected to neural scanning, quantum truth analysis, and devices that verified every word they spoke. Neither could lie here even if they wanted to. The proceedings revealed devastating truths that shocked the watching galaxy. The Caldreth attack had been planned in advance. It was not a rogue action by a few extremists. The attack was authorized at the highest levels of Caldreth government. The target was not just New Terra, it was a test. If successful, the Caldreth planned to systematically eliminate all human colonies, then petition the Council to absorb Earth itself as a protectorate under Caldreth control. But worse revelations came. The Council had known. At least 3 of the 7 highborn had received detailed intelligence about the Caldreth plans weeks before the attack happened. They said nothing. They did nothing. They let the attack proceed. Why? Because humanity was becoming too influential too quickly. In just 300 years, humans had gone from first contact to establishing 47 colony worlds. They had become major economic players. Some council members saw humanity as a threat to the existing order. Better to let them be weakened now than face a stronger humanity later. The Cathedral of Truth forced these revelations into the open. Every lie, every hidden motive, every secret deal became exposed under the building's ancient technology. Vren tried to maintain his composure as he testified. He truly believed humans were animals pretending to be civilized. He believed the council would look the other way because they secretly agreed with him. The neural scanners showed he was not lying about his beliefs. He genuinely thought he was doing the right thing. Marcus's testimony was equally revealing. He admitted that humanity had been preparing for betrayal since first contact. The very day Earth received the Council's rules of civilization, human military planners began working on defensive measures. The stealth fleet, the hidden weapons, the secret technologies. All of it was preparation for the day when peaceful coexistence failed. But then Marcus revealed something that shocked, even his own government watching from Earth. "I knew I was walking into a trap when I agreed to become ambassador. I volunteered because humanity needed a martyr, someone the galaxy could see being punished for doing the right thing. Someone who could prove the Council's justice is a lie." On Earth, his daughter Emma watched in horror. Her father had planned his own potential execution as a political strategy. General Cross put a hand on her shoulder. "He is giving us justification. Whatever happens next, no one can say we did not try peace." The tribunal's investigation went deeper. They examined thousands of council decisions over millennia. A pattern emerged that disturbed many observers. The council did not maintain peace. It maintained control. Species that grew too powerful too quickly faced unfortunate accidents, economic sanctions, or territorial disputes that conveniently weakened them. Humanity was not the first species targeted this way. They were just the first to be prepared for it. Ambassador Krell of the Chithrax presented evidence that his people's territorial raids were not random pirate attacks. They were secretly encouraged by Council operatives to keep the Chithrax dependent on Council protection. Similar evidence emerged from a dozen other species. The Cathedral of Truth verified it all. The galaxy watched as the tribunal exposed 10 million years of calculated manipulation. But here humanity's true strategy became clear. Marcus did not demand punishment for the Council. Instead, he proposed something radical. Let the Highborn remain, he said. Let the Council structure continue, but change the rules. Give every species the right to defend themselves. Give smaller civilizations voting power equal to larger ones. Remove the veto power that lets ancient species override everyone else. Make the Council what it claims to be, a true democracy, not a hidden dictatorship. It was brilliant strategy. Marcus was not trying to destroy the old order. He was trying to evolve it. Species that feared human aggression now saw a path forward that did not require choosing sides in a war. But the Highborn faced an impossible choice. Accept these reforms and lose their absolute power, or reject them and validate everything humanity accused them of. Executor Vol entered a deep meditation that lasted 3 full days. The Arbiter communicated directly with all 7 Highborn during this time. The message was brutally simple. Evolution or extinction? Choose. Meanwhile, tensions escalated outside the cathedral. The Kaldrith, desperate to avoid accountability, began mobilizing their military fleet. They claimed it was defensive positioning, but human intelligence detected offensive attack formations. Captain Hayes requested permission to engage preemptively. General Cross denied the request, but with important instructions. Not yet. Let them fire first. Let the galaxy see who the real aggressors are. The Silent Thunder and 72 other human ships formed a protective perimeter around Nexus Prime, where the tribunal was being held. The Kaldreth fleet approached closer. The Highborn still had not made their decision about the reforms. Then it happened. A Kaldreth warship powered up its weapons, targeting the Cathedral of Truth where the tribunal was still in session. They planned to destroy the evidence, kill Marcus, and blame humanity for everything. Hayes saw it happening on her sensors. She had 4 seconds to decide. Fire first and prove humanity was aggressive, or wait and potentially let Marcus and the entire tribunal die. She did not fire her weapons. Instead, she did something completely unexpected. The Silent Thunder moved at speeds that should have been impossible, directly between the Kaldreth ship and the cathedral. The carrier used its shields as a barrier to protect the building. The Kaldreth fired their planet-killing weapons. The Silent Thunder took the full impact of firepower designed to crack worlds in half. The ship's shields held but barely. Damage alarms screamed throughout the vessel. Hayes broadcast on all frequencies so every species could hear. This is Captain Victoria Hayes of Earth's Defense Forces. We will not fire first. We will not start hostilities. But we will protect those who cannot protect themselves. The Council may judge us however they wish. Our conscience is clear. The galaxy watched humanity choose protection over revenge. Again. The Kaldreth fired twice more before other Council forces could respond and disable their ship. Each time, the Silent Thunder held position, taking devastating damage but never returning fire. When it was over, Hayes' ship was crippled but intact. 73 crew members were injured. 8 were dead. But the Cathedral of Truth and everyone inside it survived. Marcus watched the recording of the battle from inside the cathedral. He knew Hayes had disobeyed standing orders by putting herself in direct danger, but he also knew she had made exactly the right choice. Sometimes you had to show who you were through actions, not just words. The tribunal reached its conclusion. The findings were presented by the Luminarchs, beings of pure energy who had existed for 3 million years and were considered beyond corruption. The Council of Highborn stands in violation of its founding principles. The Kaldreth Ascendancy is guilty of attempted genocide. Ambassador Marcus Reed and humanity are guilty of nothing except survival. The words echoed through the Cathedral of Truth, amplified by ancient technology, but consequences still had to be determined. That would come next. The Luminarchs continued their pronouncement, and the galaxy held its breath waiting for the consequences. We offer civilization a choice. The old order with necessary reforms, or complete dissolution and chaos. But understand clearly, if you choose the old order, it must change. Truly change. No more veto powers for ancient species. No more selective justice. Equal representation for all. Equal protection under law. Executor Vol finally spoke after his long meditation. His crystalline form looked dimmed somehow, aged by the weight of revelations. I have served this council for 2,000 years. I believed we were shepherds protecting young species from their own violent natures. But the human ambassador is correct. We became jailers instead of protectors. He turned toward Marcus, and for the first time his voice carried genuine respect. You were right to hide your weapons, right to prepare for betrayal, right to defend your people. We were wrong to punish you for survival. It was the first time in recorded galactic history that a highborn had admitted error publicly, but Vol continued speaking. However, Ambassador Reed, you must understand what you are asking. True democracy among thousands of species. It will be chaos, slow, inefficient, full of conflict. The unity we maintained for millions of years will fracture into pieces. Marcus nodded slowly. Yes, it will be messy and imperfect and frustrating. That is what freedom looks like. That is what justice requires. Perfection is not possible. But fairness is? The vote began. Every species received one vote, not weighted by size or age or military power. Just one species, one vote. It was the first test of the new system they were voting to create. The question put before them was simple. Accept the reforms and continue with a transformed council, or dissolve the council entirely and face an uncertain future alone. On Earth, billions of humans watched their screens. Emma saw her father's face looking older and more tired than she remembered. General Cross issued quiet orders in the background. If this vote failed, protocol endurance would activate immediately. Humanity would retreat to their home systems, seal their borders, and prepare for a very different kind of future. But Emma noticed patterns in the voting. Younger species voted overwhelmingly for reform. They had the most to gain from equality. Many middle-aged civilizations also voted for change. They had been trapped under the highborn's control for too long. The ancient species were divided. Some feared chaos more than injustice. They preferred comfortable tyranny to uncertain freedom. But others, like the Luminarchs, recognized that systems must evolve or die. The highborn themselves were the last to cast their votes. The entire decision came down to them. Executor Vol cast his vote first. Reform. One by one, the other 6 highborn followed. 4 voted for reform. 2 voted for dissolution, preferring to end the council rather than lose their power. 1 abstained, unable to choose, but it was enough. The Cathedral of Truth erupted with sound. The final tally was 7,342 votes for reform. 4,658 against. The council would continue, but completely transformed. Marcus allowed himself a small smile of relief. Then the Luminarchs spoke again, their energy forms pulsing with authority. The Kaldrith Ascendancy must face justice for their crimes. Their military leaders will stand trial for attempted genocide. Their territory will be reduced and placed under neutral administration until they demonstrate peaceful intent. And Vren of Kaldrith? The representative tried to run, but containment fields activated around him, holding him frozen in place. Vren, you are sentenced to dissolution for your role in planning genocide and attacking this tribunal. Your consciousness will be scattered. You will cease to exist. It was essentially a death sentence. Vren screamed about injustice, about tradition, about the old ways that gave his species privilege. No one listened to his protests. Then the Luminarchs addressed Marcus directly. Ambassador Reed, you are free. Your species is free. All charges are dismissed. But know this. You have transformed the galaxy. The peace we had is broken forever. What comes next is uncertain. Marcus stood tall despite his exhaustion. The peace you had was a lie built on suppression. What comes next is genuine. Uncertain, yes? But honest. I will take honest uncertainty over stable lies any day. Guards escorted him out of the cathedral, no longer a prisoner, but a free man. As he walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime, something unexpected happened. Ambassadors from dozens of species began to applaud. Not everyone. Plenty still feared or resented humanity. But enough to matter. Enough to show that minds were changing. Captain Hayes received new orders aboard the crippled Silent Thunder. Stand down from battle stations. Begin emergency repairs. Prepare to return home. But before her ship could limp away, something remarkable occurred. 17 different species sent small delegations to the human carrier. They requested formal alliance discussions, not as subjects seeking a protector, not as clients seeking a patron, but as equals seeking partnership. The new galactic order was already beginning to form around different principles. On Earth, General Cross finally deactivated Protocol Endurance. The hidden weapon systems powered down. The secret fleets remained secret. But now they were not secrets born of desperation. They were insurance. A guarantee that humanity would never be helpless again. Emma received permission to leave the War Planning Center. A private message from her father was waiting in her personal queue. She rushed to her apartment, hands shaking as she opened the file. Marcus's face appeared on her screen. The message had been recorded before the final tribunal session. Emma, if you are seeing this, it means we survived. It means we did not have to become the monsters they feared. I know you have been angry with me for volunteering for this assignment, for putting myself in danger. But I needed you to understand something important. His expression softened with fatherly love. Peace is not about being weak. It is about being strong enough to choose restraint. We showed the galaxy both sides of humanity, our capacity for preparation, for strength, for devastating force when necessary, and our capacity for mercy, for protection, for sacrifice. They needed to see both sides. Otherwise, they would never truly respect us or trust us. Tears flowed down Emma's face as her father continued speaking. We tried peace. Real peace, not submission disguised as diplomacy. When that failed, we did not become conquerors seeking revenge. We became defenders, not just of ourselves, but of the principle that civilized beings should be judged by their actions, not their potential for violence. The message concluded with words she would remember forever. I am proud of you. I am proud of Earth. I am proud of what we stood for when it mattered most. Now comes the harder part. Building something better than what came before. I will see you soon, daughter. We have a galaxy to help rebuild. The recording ended, leaving Emma alone with her thoughts and tears. Marcus's transport ship began its approach to Earth several days later. He had not been home in 3 years. As his vessel entered the atmosphere, he saw something through the viewport that made him catch his breath with emotion. Every city on Earth had turned on every light. Not for celebration exactly, but for remembrance. For all the species that did not survive the old council's selective justice. For all the civilizations that were crushed because they could not defend themselves. Humanity's message to the galaxy was blazing in light, visible from orbit. Never again, not to us, not to anyone. Marcus pressed his hand against the viewport window, looking down at his home world, and wept. 6 months after the tribunal, Marcus stood in the rebuilt council chamber. Everything looked different now. There was no more pit of judgment where the accused stood alone above an abyss. No towering thrones for the highborn to look down on lesser species. Instead, the chamber was a circular forum where every species stood on equal ground. The first session of the reformed Galactic Council was about to begin. Marcus was no longer the official ambassador. Earth had sent a skilled diplomat named Rachel Torres for that role, someone without the heavy baggage of the trial. Marcus attended as an observer, one among many, but everyone knew his role in creating this new order. He had become something between a legendary hero and a cautionary tale, depending on which species told the story. The session opened with a moment of silence for all those who died under the failures of the old system. Then Vol, no longer called Executor but simply Vol now, spoke to the assembly. We gather not as rulers and subjects but as equals. The old council maintained peace through strength and control. The new council will build peace through justice. It will be harder. It will be slower. It will fail sometimes, but it will be honest. The first major vote concerned defense protocols. Under the new system, every species had the explicit right to maintain defensive military forces proportional to their territory and population. No more asking permission. No more waiting for the council to maybe protect them. But there was an important restriction. Aggressive military action still brought consequences. The difference now was clear definitions of what constituted aggression, transparent investigations when conflicts occurred, and penalties that applied equally to ancient species and young ones alike. The Kaldrith situation reached its final resolution. Their military leadership stood trial, and most were found guilty of planning genocide. The Kaldrith species itself was not collectively punished. Only those who ordered and executed the attack faced consequences. Their territory was reduced significantly, and they were required to pay reparations to humanity and dozens of other species they had wronged over the centuries. Some Kaldrith resented this outcome deeply. But others, especially younger generations, saw it as an opportunity, a chance to rebuild their civilization without carrying the weight of their ancestors' crimes. Captain Hayes, now promoted to Admiral Hayes, oversaw the integration of human forces with the new Galactic Defense Initiative. It was a voluntary coalition, not a mandatory military force. Species contributed what they could manage, and in return received protection and support from others. The human stealth fleet was partially revealed to the galaxy. Not the full capabilities, which remained classified for security, but enough to demonstrate that humanity's defensive preparations had been genuine and not aggressive in intent. Several species expressed strong interest in human military technology, and Earth began carefully controlled technology exchange programs, but humanity remained cautious. They remembered that much of their strength had come from being underestimated. They would not make themselves vulnerable by revealing everything. Emma joined the diplomatic corps, following her father's path. Her first assignment took her to the Chithrax swarm territories. She helped them rebuild colony worlds that had been devastated by years of raids that the old council ignored. She discovered she had a natural gift for mediation, for finding common ground between very different species. During a visit home, she asked Marcus a question that had been troubling her. "Do you think it will last? The reforms, the new council, all of it? Or will it eventually collapse back into tyranny?" Marcus considered the question carefully while they sat on the balcony of his coastal home, looking at stars. "I think it is like any democracy. It will last exactly as long as people fight for it. The moment we become complacent, the moment we assume justice takes care of itself, that is when tyranny returns." He gestured at the night sky. "But here is what I truly believe." We changed the fundamental question. Before, everyone asked, how do we maintain order? Now they ask, how do we ensure justice? That is a better question. It might not always produce better answers, but at least we are asking the right thing. The story followed several different threads showing the new order slowly taking shape across the galaxy. The Meridian Collective, emboldened by the reforms, finally confronted the Vortan clans who had been raiding their space for decades. With backing from the Reformed Council and support from human military advisors, they forced a genuine peace treaty, the first ever negotiated by equals rather than imposed by superiors. The Sylvan Unity, a species of plant-based collective consciousness, began sharing biotechnology they had been hiding for centuries. They had feared the old council would confiscate it or control it. This technology led to breakthroughs in sustainable resource management that benefited hundreds of species. The Forge Worlds, massive artificial intelligence collectives, finally received full legal recognition as a species. The old council had denied them this status because artificial intelligences made the highborn uncomfortable. Now they took their rightful place as equals, but there were significant growing pains. Without the highborn's absolute authority, disputes took much longer to resolve through democratic processes. Some border conflicts escalated before mediation could be effective. A few opportunistic species tried to exploit the transitional chaos. This was when humanity's other major contribution became clear. They were exceptionally good at rapid crisis response. The human fleets, designed specifically for quick deployment, became the backbone of new peacekeeping operations. Not because humans were superior warriors, but because they had spent 3 centuries preparing for exactly this kind of distributed, multi-front stabilization work. Admiral Hayes led a critical mission to prevent civil war in the Grenthak system. She did not accomplish it through overwhelming military force. Instead, she used precise surgical interventions, protecting civilian populations, enforcing temporary ceasefires. giving peace negotiations the time and space they needed to work. It became a model for future peacekeeping operations. Meanwhile, the mysterious Arbiter emerged from its quantum matrices to address the reformed council directly. It was the first time in 1,000,000 years the ancient entity had manifested physically. "I have observed this galaxy for longer than most species have records of history," the Arbiter announced. "I have seen peace maintained through control. I have seen order enforced through fear. But I have never seen what you are attempting now. Peace built on genuine consent. It is fragile. It is inefficient. It is glorious in its imperfection." The entity's attention focused on the human delegation. "You, youngest of all civilized species, have reminded us of something we forgot over millions of years. Evolution applies to civilizations, not just biological organisms. The old council could not evolve. You forced evolution upon us. Some will hate you eternally for this disruption. But the galaxy will survive because of it." Marcus watched from the observer gallery, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. Validation from an entity older than human civilization itself meant something profound. But the Arbiter was not finished speaking. "However, humans of Earth understand this clearly. You have positioned yourselves as defenders and protectors. That role comes with heavy burdens. Species will call on you for help. They will depend on your strength. They will expect you to sacrifice for the greater good of all. Are you truly prepared for that responsibility?" Rachel Torres, Earth's new ambassador, stood to respond. "We are prepared, but not as overlords or masters, as partners and equals. We will help where we can, but we will not become the new highborn. We refuse to repeat the same mistakes." The Arbiter's energy consciousness rippled with something that might have been approval or amusement. Then perhaps there is genuine hope for this galaxy's future after all. The story reached its culmination in a ceremony marking the 1-year anniversary of the tribunal's verdict. Representatives from every member species gathered together, but not on Nexus Prime, the traditional center of council power. Instead, they met on Earth. It was both symbolic and practical. By hosting the anniversary ceremony on humanity's homeworld, the council acknowledged Earth's pivotal role in the transformation. But it also demonstrated that no single location, no single species, controlled the council anymore. Next year's gathering would be on a Chithrax world. The year after, perhaps a Forge World station. Marcus gave what he announced would be his final public speech before permanent retirement. 1 year ago, I stood in a judgment pit facing execution for defending my people. Today, I stand in my home city, surrounded by friends from 1,000 different worlds. That transformation did not happen because humanity is special or superior. It happened because enough species decided that justice mattered more than comfortable order. He looked across the incredible crowd. Insectoid Chithrax standing beside crystalline architects. Energy-based luminarchs floating near solid-form Forge World avatars. Hundreds of different body types, breathing different atmospheres, communicating in different ways, but united in purpose. We tried peace. For 300 years, we tried being exactly what you wanted us to be. When that failed, when you punished us for survival, you saw the other side of humanity, our capacity for preparation, for strength, for stubborn refusal to be victims. But that was never meant as a threat to the galaxy. It was a promise to ourselves. His voice grew stronger with conviction. The promise that we would never again be helpless, that we would never watch our people die while waiting for others to save us. And in making that promise to ourselves, we realized something profound. Every species deserves that same promise. Everyone deserves the right to exist with dignity, to defend themselves, to be treated fairly. He gestured broadly at the assembled aliens. So yes, you met the other side of humanity. But that side is not about war or conquest. It is about refusing to be victims. It is about standing up even when standing costs everything. It is about believing that justice is worth fighting for. Worth risking everything for. Marcus's final words echoed through the plaza and across broadcast networks to billions of beings throughout the galaxy. The old council asked us what we were willing to sacrifice for peace. We showed you. We sacrificed our safety, our comfort, our pleasant illusions. We risked our entire species' extinction, but we never sacrificed our principles, never compromised our values. And that, more than any weapon or strategy or technology, is the true strength of humanity. The speech concluded to initial silence, then thunderous approval from hundreds of species. Not universal agreement. Some still resented and feared humanity's role, but enough positive response to matter. Enough to show the future might work. Marcus retired to a quiet life after that. He purchased a small house on the coast, far from diplomatic centers and political intrigue. Emma visited often, bringing stories from her missions across the galaxy. He watched the news feeds, seeing the reformed council slowly and painfully building something better than what came before. One evening, sitting on his porch watching the sun set over the ocean, Marcus received an unexpected visitor. Admiral Hayes, also retired now, arrived carrying a bottle of wine from Earth's finest vineyards. "Do you think we made the right choice?" She asked after they had sat in comfortable silence for a while. "Hiding our strength for all those years, then revealing it all at once?" Marcus considered the question seriously. "I think we made the only choice we could live with afterward. We tried their way first. When their way meant letting our people die, we chose survival. But we did it without becoming the monsters they feared. That matters more than anything else." Hayes nodded slowly. "The young officers now, the ones who did not live through the early days, they do not understand why we were so patient for so long. Why we bent and compromised for 3 centuries. That is actually good," Marcus said quietly. "It means they have only known a galaxy where humanity is respected, where our voice carries weight and influence. They do not remember being dismissed and treated like primitive children. They are innocent of that humiliation. We carried that burden so they would not have to." The final scene showed Earth from high orbit. Human ships patrolled the home system, but they were not alone anymore. Chithrax vessels, Meridian cruisers, Sylvan organic bioships, and dozens of other designs from different species formed a mixed coalition fleet. They practiced joint military exercises, learning to work together. The view pulled back further, showing the entire galaxy as a map of lights. Thousands of stars, each representing civilizations, cultures, histories, dreams. The old council's rigid territory was fragmenting into something more chaotic but also more vibrant. Species that had been suppressed were now thriving. Technologies that had been hidden were now being shared. Conflicts that had been ignored were finally being addressed properly. It was not perfect by any measure. The galaxy was messier, louder, more chaotic than the orderly systems of before. But it was also more free, more just, more genuinely alive. Text appeared as the final message. Humanity's gift to the galaxy was not superior weapons or advanced technology. It was a simple reminder. Peace must be chosen freely, not enforced through fear. Justice must apply equally, not selectively. And sometimes, to save what matters most, you must be willing to risk everything.